Welcome back, Blueshirts fans, to episode number 731 of the Locked On New York Rangers podcast. I'm your host, John Chick. Just want to thank you guys, as always, for making Locked On New York Rangers your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms, and the Rangers have now won 5 consecutive games after taking care of business at home against the Toronto Maple Leafs last night, beating them 3-1, beating a team that had not lost in regulation in any of its previous 15 games. They also snapped Mitch Marner's 23-game point-scoring streak. Just an excellently played game by the New York Rangers. Just an excellent hockey game in general. Fairly low scoring, but I thought this game had great pace to it. And, just a good, clean hockey game. There were very few fisticuffs or extracurriculars after the whistle. Now, I love a good rivalry game as much as anybody. Obviously, we know whenever the Rangers play a team like the Penguins or, maybe the Devils, the Flyers for sure, things can get kind of nasty. And, I enjoy those games on that level too because it's such a battle out there. This game was a battle, but I thought these teams kept it clean the entire night, and it was just skill versus skill. 2 red-hot teams playing each other, and the Rangers outlast the Maple Leafs. They come away with the 3-1 victory. We got a lot to talk about. And let me just say, it wasn't that long ago where, the Rangers were just playing flat-out bad hockey. And I kept coming on here and I kept saying, ladies and gentlemen, we have a new candidate for worst loss of the season. Now, during this 5-game winning streak, we seemingly, after every single one of these wins, have a new candidate, or at least a game that's in the running for best win of the season, or at least top 3 best wins of the season. The Rangers have really just done a complete 180 here, and it's just been a joy to watch. I know I can't be the only one who's enjoying this, and obviously feeling a lot better about our beloved Blueshirts here, but we're also going to talk about the 2 goals scored by Jimmy Vesey. Thought he played an excellent game, continues his strong season. Again, if you're looking for Hobie Baker award winner levels of production, you're going to be disappointed. But if you look at Jimmy Vesey for what he is, just a depth signing this year, he's done a really nice job for this team. So we're going to talk about him, give him some props. Also going to talk about a play that just made me want to see the Rangers win this game even more than I already did in the first place. It was the goal that the Maple Leafs scored. A little bit of a spoiler there, but we'll break that one down in just a bit here. Also going to talk about a couple of the lineup adjustments that the Rangers made. A game-saving play by Artemi Panarin. Garden of Dreams night. Definitely want to talk about that a little bit. And Igor Shesterkin coming up money in some big spots in this game. And you know what? Let's go ahead and start with Igor, because I don't ever want to get to a point, either just like as a fan or as a podcast host or just a general hockey watcher, where I ever take Igor Shesterkin for granted, where I ever take what he does for granted. He's obviously been outstanding for the Rangers pretty much ever since he made his NHL debut. One of the best seasons that we've ever seen last year. Not quite as good thus far this year, but man, he looks like he's really taken his game to a new level recently, and he looks like he's going full Vezina winning version of Igor Shesterkin. He stopped 22 of the 23 shots that he faced last night, and the only goal that the Maple Leafs scored should not have counted, and that's actually the play that I alluded to just a second ago. We might as well go ahead and discuss that play real quick before we turn our attention back to Igor here. But this is the only goal that Igor allowed, and again, it should not have even counted because Maple Leafs had the puck in the Rangers zone, and you've got Bunting pulling Jacob Trouba's stick out of his hands and, conveniently kind of, throwing the stick into the corner, so to speak. I mean, hey, if you can get away with holding the stick and pulling it out of the guy's hands, you might as well go the full 9 yards and just throw it toward the boards or something. But in him doing this, Trouba, kind of an ill-advised decision to go get his stick. I mean, I understand it to an extent because there's only so much you can do out there if you don't have your stick. And he was probably just hoping that his teammates could hold down the fort while he went and retrieved it. But unfortunately, it caused an opening, and Michael Bunting scoring a little bit of a dirty goal there, tying the game at 1-1. And that was the play I was talking about that just made me want to win this game even more. Obviously, I want to see the Rangers win every game, but the Rangers were up 1-0, had a good start to this game, and what should have been an offensive zone penalty against the Maple Leafs turns into a game-tying goal. And Bunting's one of those guys, listen, if he's on your team, you love him. If your team is playing against him, you don't like him all that much. Obviously getting away with one here, I guess if it works, it works. That's probably what I'd be saying if somebody on the Rangers, did something like this. So I got to be fair here. But be that as it may, this play really just made me want to see this team win this game even more than I already did. You don't want to let them get away with that, and you want to see the Rangers go on and get this win, which they did. And like I said, turning our attention back to Igor here, The only goal that he allowed on the night, and it should not have even counted. But anyway, Igor coming up clutch in this game. Made a lot of big-time saves in the third period when the Rangers were only up by 1 goal, saving the game on a couple of different instances there. You had an incident where the Maple Leafs had a power play in the third period, and they had some really good chances on the power play itself. But the one save here that really stood out was actually just after the power play had expired. Igor made a sliding save going to his right, just absolutely robbed Zach Aston Reese on the doorstep. The save of the night. The crowd was buzzing. You get the Igor chance. Fantastic stuff there. And it's one thing to, make a big-time highlight reel save, early in the first period or in a game where you're up by 3 goals or down by a couple of goals. For Igor to do this, I think it was about midway through the third period, if I'm remembering this correctly. But for him to come up with a clutch save like this, that tells you why he's one of the absolute best in the world, if not the best. So, fantastic save there. There was also a sequence a little bit later where Igor robbed a couple of the brand names on the Toronto Maple Leafs. You had Tavares taking a shot from the high slot. Igor with a really nice pad stop there, covers the puck. And then just after this, you got Mitch Marner with a partial breakaway is what I would call it. A couple of moves on the doorstep, but a pad save by Igor, and he covers the puck there as well. So Igor was on top of his game in this, matchup against the Maple Leafs. He's really been on top of his game over this entire 5-game winning streak. He's really played well for the Rangers, and again, rounding into form and looking like the Vezina winning goaltender that we all know and love. So it's been great to see. Changing gears here, though, I do want to talk a little bit about a couple of the lineup changes that the Rangers made coming into this game. You had Kravtsov back into the lineup in place of Sammy Blais, which surprised me a little bit. I kind of was at the point where I thought that making Blais a healthy scratch might be a non-starter for Gerard Gallant. Just like, with David Quinn, it always seemed like making Brett Howden was kind of a non-starter. He eventually made Howden a healthy scratch, but it took him forever to do it. And, again, I just wasn't so sure that Gallant was going to take Blais out of the lineup. I thought he might, pull Brodzinski out of there, pull Gauthier out of there. And fortunately, he did not do that. With Blais, it's nothing against Blais. It's just that he hasn't really done a whole lot. Let's be honest here. He's on the fourth line. The fourth line's played a little bit better recently, but Blais is not an offensive threat at all. And he hits, sure, but, this game against the Maple Leafs not really known as like an ultra-physical team. This wasn't really that physical of a game, I don't think. And so, to me, it made sense for probably Blais to be the odd man out here. And as far as what they were going to do with the lineup, I thought maybe what they might do is put Kravtsov on the third line with Trocheck and with Kreider, and then bump Vesey down to the fourth line. They did not do that, though. They just put Kravtsov into Blais' spot on the fourth line, and then Vesey goes on to score 2 goals, including an empty netter. So I had a feeling, like I said, going in that, with Kravtsov, doesn't really play a fourth-line style game, so it might make sense to put him into the top 9 and drop somebody else down. They put him on the fourth line. But then again, I say that, and you look at the fourth line now, and you've got Kravtsov, Brodzinski, and Gauthier, which is probably the most dynamic fourth line the Rangers have been able to roll out so far this season. So that's kind of nice in and of itself. But, as far as Kravtsov and also Ben Harpur making his Ranger debut. With Kravtsov, he's out there for 11 minutes, 44 seconds, including 27 seconds of power play time. He was actually on the ice when the Rangers scored on the power play, and we'll get to that goal in a little bit here. But, yeah, he was out there for the Rangers' first goal of the night, taking Sammy Blais' spot in the second power play unit. Only Brodzinski and Gauthier, though, had less time on the ice than Kravtsov, which is probably not to be unexpected. Again, Kravtsov out there for 11:44, and I'm going to be very, very curious to see what happens in the next game. If Kravtsov is going to continue to play, if he'll be out there in place of Sammy Blais once again, or if maybe the Rangers will kind of go to, a little bit of a rotation here. I don't think they would take Brodzinski out of the lineup right now, because if they do, that pretty much means that you have to drop Goodrow from the first line down to the fourth line, and some Ranger fans might be in favor of that. But given the fact that this team is winning, and that top line of, Panarin and Mika and Goodrow is looking pretty good together, I don't think that they'll do that. So that alone, and just the fact that Brodzinski has played well, but also the fact that they don't want to drop Goodrow from the first line down to the fourth line, I think that's probably enough of a reason why Brodzinski will not be the odd man out. I could see maybe Gauthier coming out of the lineup at a certain point here. Maybe, Blais goes back in for him. And again, you do a little bit of a rotation here. Very, very curious to see what the Rangers decide to go with. Certainly Vesey's not going to come out of the lineup, not after the game that he just had. And that's pretty much it as far as candidates to be healthy scratches for the Rangers as far as their forwards are concerned. As far as defensemen, you had Ben Harpur, like I said, making his Ranger debut in place of Libor Hajek. I suppose this is fair. I mean, Zach Jones had his chance. Hajek has had his chances this season. Give Ben Harpur a little bit of an opportunity here. And just the fact that, Harpur was called up quite some time ago here and still has yet to make his Ranger debut. At a certain point, I think if you're a coach, you just want to throw somebody out there. You don't want Harpur to be a healthy scratch for 40 games and then have to throw him out there ice cold. So, we'll see what happens there, but it's kind of the same situation that I just mentioned with the forward also applies to the defenseman now as well. Of course, with the defenseman, we know that the top 5 guys are certainly going to be in the lineup. It really just comes down to Harpur or Hajek, who's going to play in the next game. The Rangers have a back-to-back this weekend, so it would not surprise me that much to see Hajek get one of the games and Harpur get one of the games, and you kind of just take it from there. We'll see what they choose to go with. But as far as Harpur in this game, 12 minutes and 26 seconds of ice time. Very predictably, he had less ice time than any of the other Ranger defensemen. He had 3 hits, 2 blocked shots. He had an early zone clear, a fairly simple play. Won a board battle in the first period in the corner, so that was nice to see as well. He was out there when Holmberg was left all alone in front of the Ranger net, and that was another outstanding save by Igor Shesterkin on that play from point-blank range. Overall, though, Harpur did all right. He had a pretty good hit in the corner at the start of the third period as well. He did fine, and as we've talked about in the past, I think sometimes for your 6 defensemen, you just want them to fly under the radar a little bit, not necessarily be the reason why you lose games. And honestly, if you don't notice them that much, it's not always the worst thing. And like I said, I think Harpur did just fine for himself in this game, and we'll see how the Rangers look to play it going forward. But yeah, we're going to keep everything rolling along in just a second here. Continue to talk about, game-saving play by Artemi Panarin, talk about just a wild sequence of events in the second period as well, and a whole bunch of other stuff. But first, we just got to let everybody know, today's episode of Locked On New York Rangers is brought to you by NHTSA. You're hanging out with some friends and putting back a few drinks. A few becomes a few too many. As the evening comes to an end and people start to head out, you think of calling for a ride. Nah, you live nearby. You can make it home okay. It's no big deal. What are the odds you'll get pulled over anyway? And even so, what's the worst that could happen? Your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you lose your job, you total your car, you kill someone. Everyone knows about the risks of drinking it. Everyone knows about the risks of driving drunk. The results are tragic and often deadly. However, that still doesn't stop everyone from getting behind the wheel while under the influence. That's why police officers are out there right now looking for impaired drivers on our roads to save lives. So, if you think you're okay to drive after a few drinks, think again. Play it safe and plan ahead to get a ride. It only takes one mistake to change your life or someone else's forever. Drive sober or get pulled over. All right, we just want to go ahead and thank you guys, as always, for making Locked On New York Rangers your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms. And I wanted to turn our attention to really, you could say the entire second period was pretty crazy. A lot of kind of back and forth hockey, good scoring opportunities both ways, good goaltending both ways. Just, again, good competitive hockey. It was just a great hockey game. This is the kind of game that, if you have a friend who's not really into hockey or a casual hockey fan at best, this is the kind of game that you would want to show them. I thought it was just really exciting. But there was a sequence in particular in the second period that was pretty crazy and actually saw the Rangers take the lead for good at 2-1, a goal by Jimmy Vesey. But it all started, again, it's 1-1 at this time. Really, 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 really long offensive zone possession for the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Ranger third line was caught out there. It was Trocheck, Vesey, and Kreider. And also the third defense pairing, you had Harpur and Schneider, and they were up against the Tavares line. And then the Leafs, they realized how much the Rangers were in dire straits, so they had Tavares and Marner and Matthews all out there against this extremely tired quintet of Ranger players all at the same time. So they were really under fire. It finally came to an end, though. Braden Schneider blocked a shot. Rangers cleared it out of the zone. And most of the players on the Rangers were able to get to the bench for a line change, although it was the second period. So wasn't the easiest thing to do. You get the long change. And with Braden Schneider, he ended up being out there for almost 3 minutes. Vincent Trocheck was out there for 2:40. When Schneider finally got to the bench, he was like doubled over and gasping, trying to catch his breath. Apparently, a couple of his teammates were kind of laughing a little bit and having some fun with him, which is always good to see. Obviously the Rangers got the puck out of there and held off just a furious charge by the Leafs there, so you can always laugh about it a little bit more after that. It was also a good time for a TV timeout, just let everybody on the Rangers kind of catch their breaths after that, so that was good as well, kind of worked out in the Ranger favor. But then the Rangers, they responded with a really long offensive zone possession of their own. You had Trouba taking a shot that was stopped. The puck was loose, and Mika had a chance to stuff it back into the net, and Murray got his glove on it just in the nick of time. I mean, Mika was right there, but Murray was able to keep it out. Like I said, both goalies I thought were outstanding in this game, and a nice save there by Murray. And then, kind of just a weird play here, Vincent Trocheck broke his stick behind the Ranger net and basically decided to try to play soccer, as Joe Micheletti said during the broadcast here, and he was kind of trying to kick it up to a teammate. Unfortunately, didn't really work. Maple Leafs took it away, but a really nice play by Igor Shesterkin here. I don't even know if he could really call it a save, because what happened was Marner ended up with the puck, but Igor just reached out with his stick and poked it away from him. So a nice play there. Like I said, Igor was absolutely fantastic in this game. We already talked about him. We started the episode talking about Igor, and yet we're still having, some of his saves kind of creep back in here as we're talking about other things. But again, just a weird play there with Trocheck breaking his stick. Hindsight's always 20/20. Might have made more sense to, alert Igor and have him cover the puck, or, try to kick it to one of his teammates quickly. Instead, he tried to go right up the center of the ice playing hockey, and like I said, or playing soccer, and just didn't really work out for him. But obviously a nice play by Igor to pick up his guy there. Then the goal that put the Rangers on top for good. This all started with just an outstanding defensive play by K'Andre Miller, who I believe is slowly but surely getting better and better and better with just about every passing game this season. He's rounding into form. I still don't think we've seen him at the level that we saw him at the end of last year's regular season, and certainly in the playoffs as well, but I do think he's getting there slowly but surely. Seems to be playing a little bit more confident as well. But basically what happened, he did a really nice job holding his position here, not chasing the puck, not leaving the center of the ice open, which at times this season has been a problem for this Ranger team. But basically what happened, the Leafs tried to make a pass. I believe it was Matthews, backhand pass, and Miller, extends his stick, deflects the puck out of the zone. So a great play there to not just break up the pass, which I'm sure is all he was really trying to do, but also kind of set the Rangers on their way for a break of their own. Vincent Trocheck picks up the puck in the neutral zone. He very quickly moves it ahead to Jimmy Vesey. Vesey goes in up the right side, and sort of a late developing 2-on-1 break for the Rangers here, but you have the defenseman going down to the ice, and Vesey kind of goes to the outside of him, gets past him, and by this point, I mentioned that it was a 2-on-1. The player that Vesey was going to try to pass to was no longer open. He was covered by, a back-checking player on the Maple Leafs. So Vesey, the smart thing here, does not try to force a pass that clearly is not there. He takes it to the net himself, and he roofs it. And just like that, Rangers up 2-1. It's one of those goals where you kind of had to wait to see for sure if it went in. I didn't know for sure, but, I saw the ref pointing, the goal horn comes on, everybody starts cheering, and the Rangers, just like that, are up 2-1. So just an outstanding play, first of all, by K'Andre Miller, and then you have Trocheck moving it ahead to Vesey, and Vesey, just a really smart play. Getting around the defender who was down on the ice, and then not trying to force a pass, which a lot of guys will do in this situation on a 2-on-1, not just on the Rangers, but just players around the league, and instead recognizing, okay, it's not there. The only thing to do is to try to shoot this myself, and I've got a path to the net, and I'm going to take it. Cannot say enough about the job that Jimmy Vesey once again did in this game. Not too bad for somebody who, mind you, was injured earlier in this game. First period, the puck is in the Toronto zone, and you've got Vesey. He's in there on the forecheck, and he tries to deliver a big hit. His target kind of ducked, and it was just kind of a weird play. Vesey's leg kind of hit his target, and then Vesey went sailing into the boards and kind of hit his head on the boards. He was very slow to get to the bench, and he might have missed one shift, but he wasn't out for too long, got back out there, and then again scores this goal, and of course eventually adds an empty netter as well. And we'll talk about that empty netter in just a second, but I do want to first kind of keep this in chronological order here today. I want to talk about what was probably a game-saving play by Artemi Panarin. This was not too long after Vesey had scored here to make the score 2-1. And Toronto, again, this is right after our power play ended, and Austin Matthews, pretty much out of nowhere, puck is along the boards, he escapes with it, and he's going toward the net. He basically posterized Jacob Trouba, went around him like he was standing still. I'm not going to kill Trouba on this because, first of all, everybody's piling on Trouba right now, so I've tended to kind of lay off a little bit. I have called him out at times this season because I do think he needs to play a little bit better than he has so far this year, but I'll give him a little bit of a pass here for one very simple reason. It's Austin Matthews. He's one of the absolute best players in the world. He tends to lead the league in goals. I think they said he's led the league in goals in each of the last 2 seasons. Phenomenal player, very clearly a top 5 player in this league. This is not the first defenseman that Austin Matthews has made look bad, and it also will not be the last. So for all those reasons, I'll give Trouba a little bit of a pass here, but just an outstanding play by Artemi Panarin, who we've talked about this. He's made a couple of plays back-checking recently. He broke up a rush against either Colorado or Vegas, hustling to get back. He had a play the other night where, another strong, kind of a hustle play in the overtime against the Devils. He was in there, got the puck away from Tatar, set up Philip Hedl for the game winner. And this play, again, hustling back. Austin Matthews has the puck. He's one-on-one with Igor. He's right there on the doorstep. And Panarin reaches out. Good stick check. Just kind of disrupts Matthews, who never really even got a shot away. So an outstanding play by Panarin there. And as I've mentioned in the past, I love a Panarin, highlight reel goal, highlight reel pass, as much as the next person. But to see him making plays like this and just really hustling and being a complete player, awesome stuff from Artemi Panarin. Cannot say enough about the job that he's done for this Ranger team recently. So I figure in just a minute, we're going to keep everything rolling here. I want to talk about the empty net goal that Vesey scored, as well as how the Rangers defended toward the end of this game, because I thought they were awesome down the stretch, protecting that 1-goal lead. Also want to talk about the Garden of Dreams night. Great stuff there, obviously, that the Rangers do with that wonderful organization every single season, and we're going to get to that in just a second. All right, so coming down the home stretch here, the Rangers getting late in the game, 5 minutes left, 4 minutes left, Rangers protecting the 1-goal lead. And Jimmy Vesey ends up with an empty net goal. The Rangers had a defensive zone faceoff. Vincent Trocheck, he was out there, and we've talked about what a great job he's done on the faceoff circle all season. He's at about 56% coming into this game, and now he's even better because I believe he was 9 for 13 on the dot in this game, so that'll only increase what was already a very, very strong success rate for Vincent Trocheck. But a big one here, obviously the game's on the line. You really want to win this faceoff, and big tie-up on the dot, big kind of scrum. Trocheck's down on the ice on his stomach and fighting to get the puck, and eventually he indeed does win it. Jacob Trouba has the puck, and Trouba moves it up the boards, and Vesey takes care of the rest. And I did not realize until I watched this goal again this morning what an outstanding play this really was by Jimmy Vesey, because Trouba moved it up the boards. It's looking like the Toronto defenseman is going to be able to hold the zone and, keep the play alive for the Maple Leafs. But Vesey just made an outstanding play here, poked the puck away from him and poked it into the neutral zone. Great play, even if he did nothing else here. But then Vesey chases down basically his own pass to himself in the neutral zone, picks up the puck in stride, got around the defenseman that was there, and, he's going toward the net through the neutral zone. He gains the blue line and then just lets it fly. There was a Toronto player kind of bearing down on him, so Vesey had to take the shot from somewhat far away, but he puts it into the net, makes it 3-1, and pretty much seals the deal here. Only a minute and 13 seconds remained at that point, so you're feeling pretty good about the Rangers coming away with the win, which indeed they did. And again, Jimmy Vesey continues his really strong play for this Ranger team. Very, very happy to see him get rewarded with a couple of goals in this game because he's been bringing it every single night. Even when the Rangers were playing poor hockey, he was one of the guys that I thought was always hustling and always skating hard during that stretch there. So, again, really nice to see Jimmy Vesey, the hockey gods, kind of smiling upon him in this game here, and him making a couple of really outstanding plays for this team. And, even before the empty netter, I wanted to talk about this as well. I thought the Rangers, their just overall team defense down the stretch in this game was outstanding. For a team in Toronto with as many threats as they have, as much firepower as they have, not a lot of grade A scoring chances in the last 5 minutes or so, even after they had pulled their goalie. And I thought Adam Fox and Ryan Lindgren really stood out in the last couple of minutes of this game. Just really, really smart plays with the puck, kind of almost playing keep away. But the Rangers as a team just so smart here. Nothing risky, no mistakes. They played mistake-free hockey pretty much the entire night. No risky passes to the center of the ice in their own zone, keeping the puck along the boards, winning the 50-50 pucks, just good stuff all around. There was never really a reason to think that Toronto was going to tie this game. And I don't say that lightly because, like I just said, they have a lot of big-time threats. They've obviously been a really hot team coming into this game. But watching the Rangers play hockey these last few minutes here, man, I just felt like they had it. I felt like their heads were in the game. They were locked in, and they just weren't going to give Toronto a chance, a grade A chance to tie this game. And even if they did, Igor Shesterkin was on top of his game as well. So I just felt really good coming down the stretch here, and I love the way that the Rangers defended in the final couple of minutes there. And then the only other big thing that I really wanted to talk about today was the Garden of Dreams Foundation. It's just, they do such an amazing job. I believe during the second intermission, they said that the Garden of Dreams Foundation has now assisted in one way or another nearly 500,000 kids that are in need. And the thing that I love about this, I mean, there's so much to love about it, but it's just the fact that they help kids in need. It's not necessarily, a specific thing where like kids that are in this situation or kids that are in that situation, just kids that are in need, whatever that might mean. Kids that, don't have the best home situation or kids that might be sick, whatever it might be. I know, Chris Kreider has done a lot of work with the Garden of Dreams Foundation. Henrik Lundqvist as well. He's very much involved with them. And I thought Joe Micheletti made a great point there. Henrik Lundqvist, when he was playing, got really, really involved with the Garden of Dreams Foundation. And it just feels like the Rangers as an organization and other players on the Rangers for sure have just kind of followed suit and, taken it upon themselves to give back and help these kids. And in many cases, I know Kreider has done this for sure, stayed in touch with these kids, in the years that have followed, not just like one visit to the hospital, hi, okay, bye. No, they actually go out of their way to stay in touch with them. And that's just really cool to hear that. It's a very likable New York Ranger team, and you hear stuff like that, and it just makes it even more so. But to just kind of talk about a couple of the kids that they, honored during this game, you had Carlos Smith Shalland. I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly. That's at least what the PA announcer said, so that's what I'm going with. But he's 14 years old. He got to drop the ceremonial first puck for Trouba and Tavares, so that's obviously a cool thing. But he's 14 years old, spent many years of his childhood in foster homes while searching for his biological parents. And between the Garden of Dreams Foundation and another organization called You Gotta Believe, Carlos was adopted by his two dads, Josh and Skylar. So just fantastic stuff there. And I'm sure that had to be a wonderful moment for Carlos getting to drop the first puck there. You had 15-year-old Liviana Ingram, also from the Garden of Dreams Foundation. She sang both national anthems before the game, did a fantastic job. 17-year-old Juan Gruyan from the Bronx. They interviewed him during the second intermission, and he's a senior in high school. He's done some broadcasting at his school and also has been helped by the Garden of Dreams Foundation. And the other thing that I thought was really cool, the Rangers also wore special warm-up jerseys before this game. They are up for auction at auctions.nhl.com/New York Rangers. So anybody who's looking for that, you can obviously visit that website there. But again, just a really cool thing. And I'm hoping at some point I can get somebody from the Garden of Dreams Foundation to hopefully join me on this show. Some things are bigger than hockey, and I think that this is a great example of that. And it feels like, I don't know what the Rangers' record is on Garden of Dreams night. I think it's pretty good. And I'd have to look back and find out for sure, but I feel like they tend to win. And I'm sure these players, especially those that do work with that organization and those that know some of the kids there, I'm sure they are inspired by it and probably just want to play that much better when it is Garden of Dreams night. And like I said, I thought this was one of the best Ranger performances of the season. We've got an ever-growing list of candidates for best Ranger win of the season after we had an ever-growing list for worst loss. It's been quite the 180 here and just a joy to watch. Just a couple other notes about this game, though, before we call it a day here. So the Rangers in this game, like I said, I thought they played mistake-free hockey. I thought that was kind of the name of the game. They only scored 2 goals, not counting the empty netter, which, I mean, you'd like to get more than that, but when you play mistake-free hockey and you just take care of the puck and you don't turn the puck over, you don't take too many bad penalties. Goodrow got hit with an offensive zone slash. That was maybe the one exception. But again, I just thought the Rangers, they had their heads in the game, just did all the little things right, got in on the forecheck. Just the little things, man. Sometimes that's all it takes. Even against a dangerous team and a white-hot team like the Toronto Maple Leafs, the Rangers just playing mistake-free hockey. Only 9 giveaways in this game compared to 29 giveaways by the Toronto Maple Leafs. And that's another thing. I thought the Rangers forced a lot of turnovers in this game, stole a lot of pucks, got some opportunities as a result of that. Mitch Marner was charged with 6 giveaways in this game. That's what the Rangers did to somebody that entered this game on a 23-game point streak. They forced him into 6 giveaways. Very, very impressive. And I also, while we're talking about the takeaways here, Kreider and Fox each credited with a team-high 3 takeaways for the New York Rangers. One other thing that I wanted to mention real quick here, the Lady Liberty jerseys. We finally got a win in the Lady Liberty jerseys. I haven't been the biggest fan of those just because the Rangers never do well with them. I mean, that was not a fun era of hockey, the first go-around when they had the Lady Liberty alternates, and of course now they're back, and they'd played very poorly in the games where they were wearing those. I think Kreider was joking after the game that, when they went into the locker room and they saw the jerseys hanging there, he was like, oh no, but obviously they got a win. Nice to see them do that, and hopefully the curse has been lifted there. Rangers going to be back in action this weekend. They are at the Flyers at 7 on Saturday, at the Blackhawks at 7:30 on Sunday. I would imagine we'll see Yaroslav Halak in one of those games and Igor for the other one. But, hey, the Rangers have won 5 in a row, and I mean, I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. It's no disrespect to the Flyers or Blackhawks. Neither team has exactly been playing very well. It's a chance to potentially run this to 7. You got to go one game at a time and all that. But golden opportunity here for the Rangers to do some damage on the road trip. And then to close out the 3-game road trip, they will be at the Penguins on Tuesday at 7. Pretty sure we're going to be doing a crossover episode with Hunter Hodes of Locked On Penguins. I reached out to him the other day, and always good talking some hockey with Hunter. And let's just dive right back into it. Rangers-Penguins, I would say maybe the best rivalry in the NHL right now, with all due respect to all the other great rivalries. But that is at a fever pitch, and I don't even know what's going to happen when those two teams play each other for the first time since Game 7 last year. But that will do it for today, guys. Once again, if you'd like to get in touch with this podcast, please send an email to LockedOnNYRangers@gmail.com. Once again, that is LockedOnNYRangers@gmail.com. And definitely give us a follow on Twitter as well, at @LO_NY_Rangers. Once again, that is at @LO_NY_Rangers. And definitely subscribe to Locked On New York Rangers YouTube channel. Thanks again, guys. I'll see you next time. Thanks for making Locked On New York Rangers your first listen every day. For your next listen, check out the Locked On Sports Today podcast. The biggest stories of the day, plus instant reactions, big game recaps, and the take of the day. Available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts.